Hello there. So today I've seen the Moana live action film. So this will be my review. And, technically there'll be spoilers here for not just this film, but the original Moana, which came out less than 10 years ago, believe it or not. So, if you haven't seen the original Moana, I will mention certain things here because essentially this is a beat for beat remake. I wouldn't quite say, some people say shot for shot. It sort of is, but not kind of. It's one of those kind of beat for beat remakes. So the story is the exact same. The plot goes out in the exact same way. So, there's certain little things that have been changed. Some little lines of dialogue are changed and things, but the songs are the exact same. In fact, I think there's like one new song that was playing that I didn't recognize over the end credits as I was leaving. But, essentially it's beat for beat the same film, kind of like The Lion King 2019 is. It's not like one of the other ones, which are essentially the same, but they add little new things like Beauty and the Beast did that with the backstory with Belle's father and things like that and mother. Aladdin added a few new little things and a few new songs, but The Lion King was, other than one scene with Scar and Sarabi, was essentially the same film. And this is kind of the same thing as well. So, how did you feel about Lion King 2019? Because whatever you felt about that, you're likely to feel about Moana 2026. So, out the gate, right? I'm going to say this: like this film, I was sort of skeptical about it. I thought the first trailer came out, I was like, kind of okay. Second trailer came out, I was like, yeah, a bit more. So the more I've seen of it, the more I've been more on board with it. And I have to say, if you're completely against this film and no interest in it whatsoever, there's nothing here that's going to surprise you or anything like that. So I'll say that right out the gate. If you're sort of on board, you're like, yeah, I'd quite like to see it in live action, see how it's done. You'll have a good time if you actually want to see this and you actually are on board with it. And I enjoyed this quite a bit more than I expected to be fair. I actually had a good time with this film, and now I'm seeing people saying, "Oh, this film's awful! It's terrible! It's diarrhea! It's completely awful and cinematic hate crime and all this overreaction." Look, the film is very competently made, whether you think it's necessary or not. And look, it's not necessary. Right? Is any film necessary? No. Is a remake for a film less than 10 years old necessary? No, especially. But was I entertained by it? Yes, quite a bit more than I was expecting to be as well. Because it is what I watched the original again just last week, so I kind of essentially watched the same film twice in the space of a week, just in different formats. But it worked for me. I thought there was a chance I was maybe because it was so fresh, so new, I might have been really bored. But no, I actually was thoroughly entertained by this film. The actress who plays Moana is really good. I'm not even going to attempt to say her name, but she sings her song's great. Her acting's great. She absolutely nails the essence of the character. Very likable screen presence, works great. Dwayne Johnson, of course, as Moana, he's great. I actually thought he was really good here. And some people are saying, "Oh, he's phoning it in" or whatever. No, I think he gave it his all. He gave it his all. His easy, natural charisma really shines through. It works well. Some people were saying, "Oh, I should have got someone else to do it, like get Jason Momoa to do it and all that stuff." And I'm kind of like I couldn't imagine anyone else doing it. To be fair, I know a lot of people have Dwayne Johnson fatigue, a lot of stuff, and that's shown in the box office. And we'll get to that. But no, I think he plays the part well. He gives it his all. He gives everything his all. You can say what you want about The Rock, but he always gives everything his all. And he has that natural likability and charisma, and it shines through again in here. The You're Welcome performance is great. The recreations of the songs work extremely well. Most of the stuff actually that's recreated works well. There's some stuff's better than others, but for me, I just had myself a really good time with this film. And I get it. Look, if you're against this film, like I say, stay away from it. If you're against it, because there's nothing that's going to change your mind. Seriously, there isn't. But if you're on board, if you want to see a live action Moana, if you're curious about it, yeah, fine. If you actually don't, just bear in mind you're going to see the same film essentially that's been done. But if you don't have a problem with that, you'll have fun with it and be entertained by it. Um, so go into the whole right. Oh, there's a couple of things I mentioned didn't work. Like I think the pig, Pua, I think it's called, looks great. I think most of the visuals actually look great here. There's a couple that don't work so well. Like the chicken does look a bit, yeah, like kind of like how Flounder in the Little Mermaid didn't totally work. Kind of the same thing here, to be fair. And there was one other sequence, the shiny sequence with the big crab guy and all that. I said most of the songs were actually really brilliantly recreated. That was one of the weaker ones. Something about that little sequence of the film actually, it did lose me. It's not totally lose me, but my interest was going a little bit once it got to that. And I know it's Jermaine Clement's back doing it. Does a really good job with it. But essentially, I think the lines of dialogue are the exact 100% same. There's nothing really changed from what I can tell. And the little sequence with the song and everything like that's fine. And all that. It's not that it's bad, the sequence. It wasn't quite as well created as other stuff. Um, but, there's that. That was, but for the most part, it actually works really well. The lava monster looks great. I thought that was sequence extremely well done. Even like towards the end, like I said, I'm going into the spoilers and stuff here, but the end with the I can't remember the character's name, but the big green tree woman thing, goddess thing. Which actually looks astoundingly beautiful in animation. I was thinking that last week, when I was rewatching the animation. I thought to myself, that's going to be really tough to do in live action. And thought, I don't know how that's going to work. And even funny enough, Jeremy John's review, it came out about a day or so after I watched that, and he basically said this looked horrible and terrible. And I thought, God, this might, I don't know, this might be not really looking forward to that. But actually, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Much like the film itself, to be honest. I actually thought it was pretty well done. There was nothing distractingly bad about it. Like I said, the animation's still better. The animated movie is still definitely better. As I've said before, one of the best animated movies in the last decade. But I thought this was pretty well done. And overall, I like this better than the animated sequel, Moana 2, which from a couple less than 2 years ago, in fact. So yeah, maybe you've kind of got the Moana fatigue coming in with the box office and things. Because plus as well, the other thing to look at is 10 years, less than 10 years since the original came out. There's probably other reasons for it. Obviously, Disney have had a lot of bombs, and here's another one for them. Funny enough, that just shows you there's no such thing as a sure thing in that sense. Other than maybe Toy Story 5 and all that, but you know. Doing it less than 10 years later is that's certainly a choice. And a lot of the most successful reboots are ones have been ones like, look at, say, Lilo and Stitch, Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. They've had the kids that were growing up watching it are now adults with their own kids, so they want to go and share it with that. There's every chance people who were kids that seen it last I've either seen Moana when it first came out or actually discovered it through its boom on streaming and Disney Plus in the last few years, are still too young and don't have their own kids yet. So you don't quite have that cross generational thing that you've got. Whereas, like I said, Lilo and Stitch, Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, they're in the perfect spot for that. Of course, Jungle Book's one of the older ones that actually did well as well with across the board. But technically, the really older ones, like the Snow Whites, Dumbos, and that, they're the ones that haven't done so well. Although I think Cinderella was pretty successful. Not one of the $1 billion ones or anything, but it was pretty successful. But the ones that have this now is kind of in that strange spot though. With that, kind of makes you wonder about the Tangled one now as well, because although that's a few years older than Moana, so maybe by the time that comes out, it might have been just about long enough. But having said that, as much as I'd love to have seen Sabrina play Rapunzel, maybe the way things are going with live action remakes, maybe it's not such a bad thing that she's not doing that. Plus, she's got her own Alice film. Uh, to get made. So I've just completely shoehorned in a Sabrina reference here. So there you go. Can't help myself. So anyway, you're welcome, as they say. But yeah, overall, I had a really good time with this. Now, here's the interesting thing: the Dwayne Johnson debate. I did say with the Smashing Machine last year, I was kind of like that film was never going to be commercially successful, but the acid test is going to be Moana live action, which is one of those things you could think would be a sure thing, and Jumanji later in the year. If they bomb or underperform, then we could be saying, yeah, there's something not right here. Definitely is in trouble box office wise. And well, there you have it. There's the proof there. So there's definitely something here with the Dwayne Johnson fatigue. And Jumanji's not a sure thing either, because it's been moved already to come out a week after Doomsday. Those two behemoths. So I wouldn't be. I know they could be thinking, oh yeah, play well out through the holiday season and all that, but and into January and things. But going up against those two, I would not be surprised to see Jumanji move a little bit into early next year, maybe a March or April or something like that. But depending on what the schedule's like, but we'll see. Time will tell with that. No doubt Jonathan Coachman will probably be grifting saying, you know why this film didn't do well? It's because the wrestling fans didn't turn up for it. And he's just like, yeah, shut up, coach. You know, honestly, I'll guarantee you he's been saying that. Coaching bro with Vince Russo, bro. But no, but you know, I'm still a fan of Dwayne Johnson. I know some people turned on him as well, and saw people say, "Well, you didn't endorse this candidate for the presidency," and all that. Well, you know, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris, and there's still lefties fucking moaning, trying to say, "Well, she's not done this about Palestine, and she doesn't do enough, and doesn't speak out enough, and me, and all that. She should be an activist like Olivia Rodrigo." Yeah, the same Olivia Rodrigo who like has speaks out for Palestine, but has companies has endorsements with Israeli sponsored companies. And you know, and she done some interview with some baldy YouTube critic who like seemingly has a history of misogyny and racism and shit like that. That's your activist queen. All right, okay. Well done, radical left. No wonder you keep losing fucking elections all the time. But anyway, that's enough about that. And fuck the radical right as well, just for balance on here. But anyway, what can I say? Anyway, that's just my thoughts. The review of the Moana live action film turned into a rant about politics and hypocrites on both sides. Who knew? Anyway, thanks for taking the time to listen. That's enough about that. If you've made it this far, and goodbye.